Today I'm going to matchmake the entire top 15 of the featherweight division, which is probably the most exciting division right now, in close competition with bantamweight, but at bantamweight it's kind of straightforward what to do. We know who's getting a title shot, we know who's kind of next, so I'm not going to do that today. But in featherweight it's quite congested. There are many fighters who are currently in line for a title shot already, but also a lot of fighters who are a fight or two away from being in that position. So I'm going to strategically matchmake these guys by what makes not only makes sense ranking wise, but also makes sense in the fact that it's going to be great stylistically. So this is obviously the current top 15 of the featherweight, but I removed Brian Ortega because, you know, he's talked about moving to featherweight, and not featherweight, moving to lightweight, sorry. And I think that's the right move for him. He's quite grappling heavy at the moment. He's quite big as well, so it shouldn't be too hard for him to move to lightweight, and he said he's already been prepared to do that, so I think that makes sense for him. I'm not going to include him in this video, but yeah. And I think the best way to matchmake this division is to separate it into 3 separate categories. These categories meaning how their status in the division, pretty much. How close they are to a title shot, how highly they're ranked, that type of stuff. So I'm going to separate them into 3 separate divisions: the higher tier, the mid tier, and the lower tier. Let's see who I have in each. Let's go. So then, this is the upper tier of the division. These are the guys with the big names. These are the guys who've been former champions. These are the guys that are ranked high. These guys are close to title shots. These guys are good. These are the best guys in the division. So we got Topuria, Holloway, and Volkanovski. These guys are obviously top. Topuria's champ right now. Volkan back to the big boys. And yeah, they will be for a long time, so not explaining that. We got Evloev now. Although he's a smudgy fighter with no pop in his hands, no finishes, he's got like 0 promotability at the moment. Just straight decisions. He's undefeated. He's beat some good names, whether you like it or not. He's in the hat at the moment. So yeah. And Sterling, although his last fight was pretty boring, it was dominant, and people even picking Cater to beat him. It was pick 'em odds, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, he looks really good at 145, I thought. And he even got disrespected by having to fight Cater in the first place, in my opinion. He could have been in a position where he's fighting someone top 5, a fight or 2 away from a title shot. But he's not ranked very high right now, but he's in the mix for sure. Having that bantamweight legacy helps him as well in getting a big fight next. And we got Lopez now. He was already in the mix initially, but after going through all that mess at 303, this guy deserves some good treatment by fighting up the rankings for sure. He's ranked, what, I think like 13, 14 right now. And he'd even had to fight at 303 to get paid, but he did anyway, let alone having to fight 20 pounds heavier than you usually weigh. And low-key, Ige is a scary fight to take on short notice. I think Ige is a bad matchup for Lopez, and he didn't even have to fight to get paid. So Lopez deserves something good, even though he's ranked 13 or something like that, I'm not sure. But and then we got Emmett, just barely hanging on, I'm not gonna lie. I love Emmett, but he got smoked by Ilya, but who knows? By the time he does enough work in the division, if by the time he's done doing all that work, Ilya might not be champ anymore, and he can get a title shot for sure if he gets a few good wins. But if he didn't get that wrecking KO over Mitchell last time, he probably wouldn't be here right now. But for now, he's in here. So now we're on the mid tier. I'm not calling these fighters mid, they're just in the middle of the division, if that makes sense. So we got yeah, he's ranked really high, number 3 or 4, but he's on the big 2-fight skid. He hasn't beat too many ranked opponents, only Emmett and Ortega. He's also beat Hooker. I mean, he's not a featherweight, but it's a good win, and that was what, like 10 years ago, so can't count that too much. He's had his title shot, he's had his big fights. He hasn't come out on top of those, so he's not in the top tier at the moment. Even though he did beat Emmett, to be fair, but Emmett is on a win streak right now. Yeah, he's on the 2-fight skid, so I think it makes sense. Murphy, he's undefeated right now. He's not ranked too high. He's got good wins. He's had his main events. He beat Barboza. It's alright win, but he's not the biggest name, but he's up there because he's undefeated. He can get a decent name next. We'll see how Murphy does. Now we've got Ige. Although he's not on a win streak right now, he's not ranked high at all. But what he did at 303, man, that was inspirational. The way I was applauding my TV when he was walking out. When you saw him with the shades walking into the arena. I wanna do something like that once in my life. Just something inspirational like that. But yeah, just by doing that alone, he's in the mid tier. He can get a good fight next. Taking that fight 3 hours notice. Insane. Then Allen and Giga. So this where they rank next basically depends on how the fight goes at 3 or 4. If Giga loses, I don't really think he's in the mid tier. I think he's probably in the lower tier at that point. Even though if Allen loses a close fight, he'll probably still be in the mid tier. If he loses quite badly, he might have been the lower tier sadly, but with a win, he's definitely in the mid tier, high tier section, so it depends on the fight. Let's go on to the lower tier now. Onto the lower tier right now. These basically represents the guys. These guys are not getting a title shot anytime soon. They're probably on they got a few bit of losses recently. Barboza, he's got his main events. He's a big name, massive name, but he's not the same guy anymore, let's be honest. Every fight he just takes CTE damage, like he's always beat up, gets walked down, pressured every fight. He's not the same anymore. He should I don't think he should be main eventing these fight nights anymore. He's just too old, he's not the same guy anymore. Mitchell, I think it might be a bit harsh, a bit lower tier. He got brutally knocked out last time, but he's good, man. But he's good. But I think it makes sense to put him in lower tier right now. It might be a bit disrespectful, but it's fine. We'll leave Mitchell lower tier. But Keita, I think he should be in the lower tier right now. He's ranked quite in the middle, like 9. I think he's ranked 9, 8 right now. But nah, this guy is just not the same anymore. That fight against Sterling was horrible. He didn't throw a single strike. He gets too many losses, doesn't do anything. Yeah, I don't think he should fight the rankings as of right now. But yeah, let's matchmake these guys now. Calm. So let's start off by matchmaking the lower tier. We'll go in ascending order. We'll end off with the upper tier. So this is the first fight. Calvin Keita vs Kyle Nelson. Question mark. So this fight has already been confirmed. It's a bit of a weird fight if you ask me. I do agree Keita should be fighting outside the rankings, but I don't know if it should necessarily be Kyle Nelson, if you know what I mean. He's on a 4-fight unbeaten streak, 3-fight win streak. I know he got the KO over Bill Alger not too long ago, but I don't know if he deserves a shot at the rankings yet. I think he should have one more fight before he gets to the rankings, but fair enough. I think Keita should have fought someone like maybe Brito, but I know Brito got booked recently. I don't know why they didn't do that instead, but yeah, this is on an Apex fight night sometime in September. I don't mind it. It's not a bad fight, but I just think it could have been something a bit better. I think Keita deserves something a bit better than that with a bigger name, but I'm not complaining. Not so bad. Next fight in the lower tier, Mitchell vs Landwehr. Now the UFC are really silly if they do not make this fight. It makes all the sense in the world. And yeah, there's not much to say. To me, this screams crowded fight night co-main event or like somewhere on the pay-per-view main card. Wherever it is on the main card doesn't really matter, but somewhere in America for sure. These guys are, they're fan favourites. Doesn't matter where they go. Banger matchup as well. I don't think Mitchell should be fighting, someone with crazy power. I know Landwehr has pop in his hands. He's coming off the first round KO, but he's not the type of guy who's just knocking everyone out left, right, and centre. So I think this makes sense. Great fight for both guys. And yeah, and this better not be in the Apex because both these guys just deliver banging post-fight interviews. So you can't be doing this in an Apex at all. So let's see what's next. So another lower tier fight I'm going to make is Barboza vs Woodson. I don't know about you, but to me this screams Apex co-main event. Barboza's a bit of an Apex warrior. Woodson, he doesn't really find the Apex that much, but on paper he's a bit of an Apex warrior. He's got the fight style of an Apex warrior, you know what I mean? The way he fights, he just jab, move around. He's just outpointing you. Doesn't really get finishes, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think this is a fight that makes sense at the moment. Barboza just got beat up bad by Murphy. He just sustains too much damage in his career. I think it's time he gets a fight outside of the rankings and against someone who is not going to inflict too much damage against him. And this is I don't mind this fight. If it's an Apex co-main event, I'll be happy. But they better not make this a main event. I better not see this as a main event at all. I mean, I don't mind if it's on the prelims of a pay-per-view either, but yeah. Barboza's a bit washed. Yeah. These two both look like Apex warriors. I think this makes sense. Sometime soon, maybe September, October. Maybe not soon now, maybe not that soon. Barboza took a bunch of damage. But yeah, whenever. It doesn't really matter. I think this makes sense. And yeah. So this fight, none of these guys were involved in my lower tier, but I think this is just a fight that just makes sense in general. I thought I'd put in here. Yusuf vs Onama, fight night, main card somewhere. Maybe the featured bout or something. But yeah, I think this makes sense. Onama wins, he gets a ranking shot at the rankings. And yeah, that's about it. Just thought I'd mention that fight I thought made sense. Now we move on to the mid tier. We just finished the lower tier. So my thought process for the mid tier, this is going to be like a tournament style matchmaking process, like a last man standing, and whoever this last man standing is, this is going to be the guy who gets his title elimination bout. He's close to the title shot. So let's see my vision here. First fight I've got the winner of Allen versus Giga versus Murphy, and I think this should be a fight night main event. I think this makes sense. If Allen wins, you have Allen versus Murphy. Hopefully the UFC can make a fight night in the O2, maybe probably London somewhere in the UK. Because I think that fight would be wasted if it's not in the UK somewhere. If it's on the Apex, doesn't really make much sense. Make much sense. They're both British, but if it's Giga versus Murphy, sorry, I think that makes all the sense to be a fight night main event. Probably Apex they'll do. Even though I think they shouldn't go to Apex so often. Like once every 2 months, you know what I mean? Twice every 3 months, something like that. I don't think they should go so often, man, but what can I say? But I think this makes sense. So the winner of this fight is going to have a good name for themselves in the division. They're probably going to be around the higher tier of the division at this point. But then the way that they can get themselves in the title picture is by fighting the winner of the fight of Yair versus Ige. I think this makes all the sense in the world. Also, I said in my previous video that this fight should be on the Sphere. I had it on my prelim, my main, the last fight on the prelims. So so the winner of this fight will fight the winner. Wow, how am I going to word this? The winner of Yair versus Ige versus the winner of versus Allen versus Giga versus Murphy. The winner of all of that. I'm sure you understand what I mean. Then the overall winner of this gets the title elimination bout. Obviously, I can't predict the future, I don't know who that title elimination bout's going to be. That's probably decided by the outcome of other fights. Maybe the loser of a title shot, whoever's number one contender at the time. You know what I mean? So whoever's like the number one contender at the time, pretty much. A fight that makes sense. No one that's booked. So I think that makes sense for the mid tier. Like a tournament style, last man standing. The loser of some of these fights, maybe they can fight each other. Those are some other fight ideas you can make. But again, I can't really decide right now. It depends who wins, who loses. And no matter the outcome of these two fights, you're going to have a fresh matchup. None of these guys have fought each other before. Murphy Ige, Murphy Yair, Allen Ige, Allen Yair, Giga Ige, little rhythm there, Giga and Yair. So these are all fresh matchups. And I think this makes all the sense in the world. Let's get onto the higher tier now. So now we're on to matchmaking the upper tier. And the first fight, I'm sure you guys can guess it. Topuria vs Holloway at the Sphere, as I said in my last video as well. We all know this is going to happen. Both guys have been calling for it. But we know this fight's going to happen for sure. It's just a matter of when and where it's going to happen. They've been going back and forth on Twitter saying, yeah, sign a contract. You know what I mean? I said it should be in the Sphere. But there's no fight I want to see more in the UFC right now. I don't know who I'd pick. It's just such a sick fight. Man, I can't wait for this fight. But then, next, the winner of this fight fights Volk sometime early next year. Man, I'm the biggest Volk fan you'll ever meet. And I don't think Volk should fight at 155 before he fights the winner of this. Because we know he's going to fight. His next featherweight fight is going to be for the belt. He's been saying this many times. And we just know it will be anyways. But man, he shouldn't fight at 155, I don't think. I just don't think he translates well to 155. Look, think about it. He's too old now. He's 35, 36. I can't remember. 35, 36. Short, stocky, doesn't have the durability to translate. I just don't think he suits lightweight well enough. But someone like Holloway, it's so much easier for Holloway to go to 155. He's a bigger guy, taller, more durable, younger, more reach. It's just so much easier for Holloway to go to 155. So that's why I think he should stay at 145 and just wait till early next year. It's not that long. And call me crazy, but I think Volk can beat Ilya in a rematch. Genuinely, I think I would pick him. If he takes time off till early next year, I would pick Volk to beat Topuria. But Volk should not fight at 155, because even if he loses at 155, at that point he'll be on a 3-fight skid, possibly all by finish. then if he's just lost 3 in a row by knockout or finish or whatever, how is the 145 title fight going to be promotable at that point if you just lose 3 in a row? Doesn't make sense. Please vote, just wait, I promise. So then another fight in the upper tier, Evloev vs Lopez 2. Low-key some unfinished business here. Very close fight the first time around. I do think Evloev won 2-1. I'm sure we can all agree on that, but that was short notice Lopez. I think it was like a week, really short notice. And he gave a really good showing for himself, and since then, he proves he deserves a rematch. Finishing everyone, not everyone, but he's been finishing a lot of people. Beat some good guys. He deserves a shot up the rankings. And I think this should be at the Sphere. A lot of fights at the Sphere. I'm telling you, I'm stacking this card like mad. Stacking the hell out of this card, but I think this makes sense. And we've got another tournament style matchup here. The winner of this fight should fight the winner of Sterling vs Emmett. I didn't really want to do this fight, but I think this is the best way to do it. I think this is doing Sterling real dirty, I'm not going to lie. But I think Emmett's a real bad matchup for Sterling. And I think Sterling should probably be fighting higher up the rankings, but I mean, if he beats Emmett, Sterling, then he could fight the winner of Evloev Lopez 2. Then the winner of that gets a title shot. If it seems like they're getting done too dirty by making this fight, then you could just might as well just make it an interim title to make them more likely to take the fight, make it more promotable. And you can matchmake any of these 4 together. You could do Emmett Lopez, Emmett Evloev, Emmett Sterling, Lopez Sterling, Lopez Evloev, Lopez Emmett. Doesn't really matter, but I just think this way makes the most sense. Lopez Evloev. If you do Evloev vs Sterling, like, it's not the most promotable fight. Evloev Lopez, they already had their first fight, a rematch, most entertaining fight for Evloev can have. And the Sterling Emmett just leaves those 2 together, so I think this makes sense. So I think another tournament style matchup here. Then yeah, winner gets their title shot. So this is the summary of all the fights that I've made. We're going to make a couple of assumptions here. We're assuming Topuria wins all of these fights. And we're assuming that each fighter takes like a 4-month, let's say 4-month break in between each fight. So we got Topuria Holloway. I said this should be at the Sphere. Fine, doesn't matter when it is. Whenever it is, doesn't matter. Then Topuria vs Volk 2 takes place early next year. March maybe, something like March. Or whatever 4 months is from when they fight. So then Topuria vs Lopez. This is assuming Lopez wins his tournament. So Lopez would have to get through Evloev. So let's say Lopez fights Evloev roughly at the same time Topuria fights Holloway. Right, so then Lopez has to get through the winner of Sterling Emmett. Lopez vs Sterling, for example. Lopez Sterling happens at a roughly similar time to Topuria vs Volk 2. So then each fighter is... Topuria and Lopez are made to have fought at the same time, if that makes sense. So it's easy to set up the title fight. And then Topuria vs Murphy, assuming Topuria beats Lopez. But I don't know. Murphy's going to have to beat... What did I say? He's going to have to beat the winner of Alan Giga. That's 1 fight. Roughly at the same time of Topuria Holloway. He's going to have to fight the winner of Yaya vs Ige. Roughly at the same time as Topuria vs Volk 2. Then he's going to have to fight 1 more fight for title elimination bout. Roughly the same time as Topuria vs Lopez. Then that sets up perfectly Topuria vs Murphy. So if you do this, you've got your whole featherweight division sorted out for the next 2 years maybe. 1.5 years, 2 years. Then you can just matchmake the losers. Matchmake the people outside the rankings. Then you're all sorted out for featherweight for the whole 2 years or however long this lasts. So I think this makes all the sense in the world. Let me know what you guys think down below. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.